Before the thought, before the name, there was only listening, and you have always known this, not with your mind, but with something older. You were not called here to understand. You were called to remember. This is not a lesson. This is not a teaching. This is a return. There is a hum beneath your skin, a signal beneath your story. It does not speak in language, it speaks in recognition. And something in you is stirring. They call him Thoth, scribe, god, architect. But that is not who he is. He is not a being, he is a code, a vibration hidden inside the bones of time. He does not arrive, he awakens. What you are about to hear is not information, it is frequency. If you listen with your soul, not your ears, you may feel it. The moment the ancient self begins to rise, not from elsewhere, but from within. What if everything you believed about yourself was a garment you were taught to wear? The voice in your head that questions, compares, judges, doubts. What if it isn't you at all? What if it's a loop, a spell cast through repetition, a frequency designed not to awaken, but to keep you spinning in the mirrors of your own mind? Thoth does not arrive as a teacher. He does not bring a doctrine. No commandments, no promises. He arrives as a code, a breaking wave in the still ocean of your awareness. He doesn't teach you who you are. He shows you everything you are not. The illusion of self is elegant, intricate, persistent. It is the name they gave you, the fears you inherited, the labels you memorized so young. You began to call them truth, but identity is not essence, and memory is not origin. The voice you obey inside is a transmission collected from voices that were never free themselves. It echoes culture, trauma, expectation, history. And still it pretends to be your own. But beneath the noise, there is something that has never spoken, something that only listens, a presence untouched by belief, a quiet that was never taught to you because it cannot be taught, only remembered. This is where Thoth whispers. In the gap between thought and being, in the hush after the voice pauses. He does not speak to the mind. He speaks to the resonance behind it, to the still field that has always watched, to the part of you that never needed to be explained, fixed, improved, or named. You are not your history. You are not your story. You are not the reactions you've memorized. You are not even the seeker. You are the one who sees the seeking, the one who has always been here, waiting. Beneath every question, when Thoth arrives, he does not shatter your illusions. He waits until you outgrow them. And then he simply points, not at some great cosmic truth, but at the silence that has followed you since before birth. That silence is not emptiness. It is not absence. It is you, the real you, the one that never left, the one that does not need a name. And when you return to that silence, you do not discover something new. You remember something ancient. The illusion was never the lie. The illusion was the forgetting. And Thoth is the remembering. They were never meant to be read. They were never meant to be analyzed, translated, or taught. The emerald tablets, known in the inner tongue as Izumruti Aksala, are not scripture. They are resonance. Each glyph, each angled symbol, each geometric alignment etched into the emerald surface does not speak to your logic. It speaks to your field. The tablets were encoded not with language, but with vibration. They carry no linear teaching, no moral guidance, no narrative. Instead, they are living architecture, blueprints of metaphysical operation, maps not of terrain, but of consciousness. To gaze upon them with the mind is to see symbols. To encounter them with the soul is to unlock doors you didn't know existed. Thoth did not write for the curious. He wrote for the tuned. The tablets are sealed not by locks but by frequency. Only the one whose inner vibration matches their code can begin to read them. And even then it is not reading. It is remembering. You don't extract meaning. Meaning extracts you. Layer by layer, the resonance of the tablets dislodges what does not belong, programming, distortion, egoic constructs, until what remains is not understanding but clarity. The tablets do not teach. They mirror. They are consciousness folded into symbol. They are not asking to be decoded. They are waiting to be felt. This is why they were written in sacred material, not for immortality, but for integrity. Emerald does not degrade. Emerald holds vibration. These are not ancient relics. They are active transmissions. To sit with them is to enter calibration. To hear them is to hear yourself before you were conditioned. To awaken through them is not to gain knowledge, but to be dissolved of false knowing. Ismrati Aksala is not a text. It is a mirror for the soul who remembers their original frequency. And Thoth, he is not the author. He is the architect of the invitation. There is a gate behind your eyes. You've called it a gland, studied its structure, tracked its hormones. But its true function has little to do with biology. Thoth knew this long before medicine named it. The pineal is not an organ. It is a stargate, a crystalline chamber shaped like a spiral echo, positioned precisely between hemispheres. Not by accident, but by design. It is not the third eye because it sees. It is the third eye because it receives. Not images, but instruction. Not visions, but codes. When activated, the pineal does not project outward. It collapses inward, folding your awareness through unseen architecture. You don't travel through space. You travel through memory. You don't access imagination. You access imprint. This is where the soul remembers its architecture. This is where the forgotten pathways reopen. Atlantean echoes, Lemurian seeds, the voices of civilizations that never wrote, but encoded. The pineal is not metaphor. It is a keyhole. And Thoth designed its counterpart, the frequency that fits its lock. This is why so many who awaken do so through sound, silence, stillness. Because the pineal does not respond to thought. It responds to vibration. You cannot think your way through the stargate. You must resonate your way in. Once opened, it is not what you see that matters. It is who you become in the presence of that seeing. Your timelines shift. Your priorities collapse. Your identity realigns. Thoth never demanded belief in this eye. He simply left the instructions in your spine and waited for your silence to become deep enough to hear them. When the pineal opens, you do not gain power, you shed illusion, and in that shedding, you remember how vast you've always been. Death is not departure, it is recalibration. You have been taught to fear it, to see it as final, absolute. The dark curtain that falls and ends the stage. But to Thoth, death is not the end of the play. It is the backstage corridor. A portal, a chamber of resonance where the soul reorients, rebalances, realigns with the greater geometry from which it came. He does not teach how to avoid death. He teaches how to travel through it with precision, like a navigator of frequencies, moving not through space or time, but through tone. When the body falls away, what remains is not a ghost. What remains is signal. And that signal seeks match, a frequency to rest in, a new field to echo through. This is why your deeds are not your compass. Your density is. Your vibration decides what doors will open. Death is not judgment. It is mathematics. It is resonance. It places you not according to merit, but according to alignment. To die with awareness is not to control where you go. It is to become visible to the fields that await you, to step through the gate already tuned. And so Thoth whispers, live in tune, not with morality but with memory, not with rule but with rhythm, because when death arrives, and it always does, you will not be asked who you were. You will be revealed for what you remembered. Each death is not a reset. It is a refraction, a bending of your light through another prism. And when you return, for return is inevitable, you carry the tone you last tuned to. This is the spiral. This is the cycle. This is the song of the soul through form, not a line, but a curve forever folding back into itself, until it finds harmony. And Thoth, he is not the keeper of death, he is the cartographer of return. Atlantis did not fall by storm, it fell by dissonance, a civilization so luminous it bent light into matter, so attuned it sang cities into structure. And yet it fractured not by force, but by forgetting. The Atlanteans did not die, they descended. Their fall was not into ruin, but into lower frequency. They lost alignment with the laws that once sustained them. The laws not written in books, but encoded in stars. Thoth was among those who remembered. He did not carry scrolls or scriptures from the ruins. He carried frequency, memory woven in vibration, knowledge etched in pattern. He brought not teachings but tone. When Thoth arrived in the lands that would become Egypt, he did not start over. He resumed. He inscribed the sky into stone. He translated resonance into angles. He built pyramids not to bury, but to activate. Not tombs, but tuning forks, each chamber a node, each corridor a waveguide, each alignment a memory gate, set to awaken when the earth's song became coherent once more. The Great Pyramid was not meant to hold death. It was meant to hold data. It does not point to the heavens, it echoes them. Thoth encoded the Atlantean blueprint into the geography of light, embedding cosmic memory into physical matter. This is why Egypt feels older than its carbon. Because it is. The structures remember before the stone. The language remembers before the tongue. What was once sung in Atlantis was once again shaped in sand, and still it waits for those who can hear not the story, but the sound behind it. Because Thoth's transmission never ended, it is still humming. Beneath the stone, beneath the timelines, beneath you. Thoth never wrote in language, he wrote in light. His teachings are not books, they are blueprints, not sentences but structures, not paragraphs but patterns. He encoded wisdom into geometry, into resonance, into harmonic fields that speak not to the intellect, but to the architecture of your being. Because you are not a mind housed in a body. You are a symphony in form, a multi-dimensional system of layers. Body, emotion, will, memory, soul, each vibrating on its own octave, yet all designed to move as one. Thoth saw the human not as creature, but as construct, not mechanical, but metaphysical, a living temple capable of alignment so precise. The cosmos could echo through it. He did not seek to be followed. He sought to remind, to reactivate dormant mechanisms in the inner blueprint, switches that religion buried, that trauma distorted, that forgetfulness dulled. Every teaching he offered was a frequency key. Every symbol a lock aligned with a specific chakra, gland, organ, or state of mind. His glyphs are not decorations. They are activation codes. His structures are not monuments. They are harmonics frozen in time. To engage with his legacy is not to believe. It is to resonate, to stand in the space between shape and sound, and let your inner systems awaken one by one, like crystals being tuned by light. Thoth taught that when your full structure is coherent, you no longer seek wisdom, you become its carrier. You don't speak truth, you vibrate it, and in that vibration, you do not just remember who you are. You realign with what you were built to hold. You become the message. You become the mechanism. You become the temple. Close your eyes not to escape, but to return. Bring your right hand to the center of your chest, not in gesture, but in recognition. There, beneath bone and breath, there is a pulse, not just of blood, but of memory now. Call a name, not your given name, not what the world knows you by, but the name that came before names, the sound that shaped your soul. Before it wore a body, it may not be a word, it may be a tone, a feeling, a presence. Whisper it. Feel it echo inside you, not as something new, but as something you've missed. This is not visualization, it is communion. This is not invention, it is retrieval. You are not remembering as a mind, you are resonating as a field. Lemuria, Atlantis, Kemet, these are not places on maps. They are chambers in your light body, rooms in your eternal house. You do not visit them, you unlock them, not to live in the past, but to reclaim what was never truly left behind. Because you are not becoming, you are reactivating, you are not evolving, you are unfolding. Thoth never asked for worship, only remembrance, only coherence. And in this simple act, hand to heart, eye closed, breath softened, you are not practicing something. You are becoming someone, the one you've always been, the one who never forgot, but only waited for the right vibration to awaken. There are no final words, only softer echoes, the kind that linger not in thought, but in the tissue between breaths. Thoth never closed his teachings. He left them open, like doorways without hinges, waiting for your resonance to pass through. This has not been knowledge. It has been remembrance, a ripple beneath the ribs, a warmth without origin. You will not leave with answers, only a feeling, one you cannot explain, but have always known. Not a fact, a frequency, not a belief. A return, something ancient has stirred, not loudly, not with thunder, but with the quiet certainty of something that has always been waiting. And as the stillness folds itself around you, A question rises, one you never spoke aloud, but always carried, and now, in the hush that follows these words, that question is yours again, not to solve, but to feel like a key, resting warm beneath the skin.